American businesses eyeing Cuba, perhaps investors should too. Joining me now is Kabir Sehgal. He is a contributor here at TheStreet. Good to see you.
Well, thank you so much.
And we were discussing before we started that both you and I have been to Cuba, and not everyone has. It's a fascinating place. You can see there's a lot of investment opportunities, but that's hard to do, although you found a couple of options for investors in America that can look a little south.
Right. Well, there's a saying in Cuba, no es fácil, which means it's not easy. That applies to life there. That also applies to investing there. But it's also not impossible. And Cuba is really an attractive destination. And I think there's two ways to play it. One of them is called the CUBA Fund. It trades on Nasdaq. It's called the Herzfeld Caribbean Basin Fund. And it's comprised of about 60 securities.
And those are New York securities, a lot of them. Cruise ships, for instance.
Right, cruise ships, miners, airliners like Avianca is a Colombian-based airliner, Norwegian cruise liner. And the stock has done pretty well. It's gone up about 50% after the news of the rapprochement between Cuba and America. But then it's also fallen because Cuba is a Latin American country and is geared toward Latin American economies. And emerging markets have sold off, Cuba sold off. But that's really the one way to play it. It's a small cap name. There's only about $40 million in this fund. And, but it also is geared to, again, the Latin American economy. So you've got to figure out when to invest. And there's an investment trigger coming up, and that's President Obama is going to be traveling to Cuba in 2 weeks. And I think that positive news flow is going to be a catalyst for the stock.
There's also a Canadian company that you recommend as another way to potentially invest.
Right, Sherritt International is listed in Canada. It's a small cap, $275 million market cap, and they're basically an energy and materials company. 75% of their income, Rhonda, comes from Cuba. They have a joint partnership, cobalt mining, nickel mining with the Cuban government. So if you want to invest in Cuba, you can go with the CUBA Fund or you can go with the small cap Canadian fund to get some exposure. So it's really kind of an attractive market. Cuba has the largest population, 11 million people in the region. And
in terms of their economic growth, I mean, I guess it's better than it was, which is maybe not saying too much, but we've seen worse in terms of developing countries.
Sure. Well, its economy is about $80 billion. It's been growing 5%. But on a GDP per capita basis, at about $10,000, it's better off than India, Vietnam, Philippines, some of these larger emerging markets. Its labor force is also really well educated. And the literacy is 99%. The infant mortality rate is very low. So the demographics are strong. The economy is relatively robust. And it's opening up to America. And President Obama deserves a lot of credit.
It's going to be a great area to watch. Kabir Sehgal, good to see you once again.
My pleasure.
I'm Rhonda Schaffler for TheStreet.